let's do something a bit different on the channel and just kind of talk about some stuff while we've got the time to do it. Hi, I'm Bryan from Airflow Music. You might be familiar with a bunch of other videos I've made before, but this one's going to be a little bit different, and I think there's probably going to be a series of them right now. Back early on when I started this channel, I briefly had a series called Trumpet Q&A, and that's kind of the sort of thing we're going to do right here. Right now this is March 31st, 2020. I'm not going to explicitly mention on camera what's going on in the world right now because it's been tending to cause some problems with YouTube. But as you know, we're all staying home right now. There's not too much going on, there's certainly no gigs happening, there's certainly no stuff like that going on. So I'm going to take the opportunity to spend a little time, probably most days, with you and just go through some trumpet tips and things like that. I've got a bunch of questions I've been asked over the months and years that I've been making these videos that I haven't gotten around to, and equally, if there's something you'd like to know about, then please leave a comment below this. This is going to be on YouTube, it's also going to be on IGTV, and yeah, let's check it out and get something useful out of it, hopefully. So if you have questions, something you'd like me to address, something you want to know about, then just send me a message and we'll get to it, okay? What I thought I'd do today, since it's something that I've been asked about a lot, is just simply show you how I warm up. This, of course, is something I do every day, and basically I've got it down to a science, pretty much. I know exactly what I need to do to get going and get it done quickly, which is a problem for a lot of people. You know, if you're spending an hour and a half or 2 hours feeling like that's what you need to do to get set, then you're not warming up, you're just practicing and you're not addressing what you need to address. So while the specifics of what I'm going to do right now and what I'm going to demonstrate aren't something that I necessarily recommend that you do verbatim, because I've built up to this over a long time, I'm going to show you what I do, and then in another video we'll address some of the components and I'll show you some more basic versions you can start with to get built up to where I'm at with it now. Sound good? Cool. So as far as I'm concerned, there's 3 parts to a warm-up on trumpet. Okay, we need to first relax and clear out all the bad stuff from yesterday. We then need to focus the lips in the air and start to get them to work, and then we need to really engage them and get everything moving. So 3 buzzwords for that: relax, focus, engage. The relax part is easy, and it's something you're probably doing already at different times during the day, but this is how I start every day with the trumpet, and it's just quite simply fluttering my lips. Something like this. Now this is something I'm doing to try and promote blood flow and not work any kind of muscle, so I'm doing it very gently. My focus here is on trying to relax my lips, taking deep breaths, getting the breathing muscles going, and just relaxing my lips so that everything can be back to as blank a canvas as possible. What this will do is going to promote blood flow to the lips, which is going to wash away all the lactate that built up while I slept, which is absolutely something that needs to happen, that needs to get in there to help repair damaged muscles from yesterday's exertion. But at the same time, it's also the stuff that's responsible for that kind of stiff and puffy feeling you get in your lips in the morning, particularly after you played hard. This is the only part of my warm-up I've already spent some time doing today. This is something I would literally usually spend 2 to 3 minutes doing. And I'm not trying to work the lips, I'm not trying to go hard and go and get everything really happening. I'm trying to go as gentle as possible. Something like that, okay? I've already spent a couple of minutes doing that before I got to filming today, as I've been wandering around running the errands that I needed to run, do the jobs that I need to do here in the house. So I'm not going to sit and do that for 2-3 minutes, because this is already in danger of being the longest and most boring video of all time. But it's something you should spend 2 to 3 minutes doing, and that's going to seem probably 3 or 4 times longer than you need it to be. But trust me, do it for longer than you think you need to, okay? Now the second component of this is then, once the lips get good and relaxed like that and all the blood gets through there and everything gets washed away, then you're actually going to be too relaxed to play. So we need to bring some focus back into the lips and get some muscles moving in the right directions so everything can come together well enough to get some notes happening. Okay? The way I like to do this is starting out with some lip buzzing, and then I move it into the mouthpiece buzzing, and then I move it onto the horn. A lot of this stuff, most of my warm-up takes place before I get to the trumpet, because I really want to get the lips moving, I want to get them focused, I want to get them conditioned, and I want to get them responding to the air before I even involve the horn. That way, by the time I get there, it's going to be nice and easy and everything's going to be good to go. So, I've been over some lip buzzing stuff in previous videos and stuff like that, and I'll go into this in more depth when I get into the basics version of this. But what I'm basically doing is trying to get a low register lip buzz happening. And the most important thing that I'm trying to do is to make sure that I'm not pinching the lips together in the middle. Any grip that happens is all in the corners. Okay? I need the center of my lips to be free enough to just adapt to whatever shape they need to be for the airstream that I'm giving them. I'm not trying to pinch them together because that's going to make it hard to get air through, and it's going to cause all kinds of other problems. So, if we're doing a lip buzzing 101, as I've covered in other videos and I'll go over again, I'm going to start out by taking a deep breath, closing my lips naturally by saying M, and I'm just going to start out by blowing a steady stream of air. It's just going to go M. Okay, so I'm just letting that air go through the center of my lips, just letting it pass. Now the thing that turns it into a buzz is a grip at the corners. The corners grip together and they grip forward towards the center. So if I was going to do a really big version of that, it would be like a chimpanzee blowing a kiss. That famous picture you may have seen on like Maggio books and things like that. Something like this. That's the big version. That's 25 times bigger than I need it to be. But that's basically what I'm doing. Okay? So, deep breath, M, blow, grip. M. Okay, that gets the buzz going. Now, I know from experience that that note is going to be a low C, right around here. For most of you, particularly if you don't do lip buzzing all the time, keep this very light. I'm going to do a pretty extensive lip buzz. Like I said, I don't necessarily recommend that you do exactly what I do, but I'm going to show you what I do so you can see what you can build up to. So, for you, don't lip buzz more than about 30 seconds a day to begin with. It's a lot of work on the chops. It'll really tighten you up and overdo things if you're not careful. For me, I've been buzzing this way for, 25 years. So I'm going to go a little longer with it. What I'm going to do is going to take probably 2 or 3 minutes. So the pattern I'm going to do is a descending major chord with a flat 9 at the bottom. So it sounds something like this on the horn. Whatever buzzing pattern you do, I always recommend that you have a half step, a semitone in there somewhere, for reasons that will become apparent. Okay? Right, I'm going to start on that low C that I was buzzing before. I'm just going to pitch some start notes and I'm going to buzz the pattern. I'm going to take this down chromatically at least through about an octave and a half. So just hang in there for a minute, check it out. This is what I do every day. Okay, so that's down starting on low F sharp in the trumpet. Now, because I want to make sure that the pitch is good, I'm going to start pitching the notes an octave above to make sure the pitch is true. Okay, so let's lip buzz in that pattern, which covers an octave in its own right, down through start notes going down just over an octave and a half. The last start note there was a double pedal F at trumpet pitch on B flat trumpet. Okay, now everything's coming together quite nicely. The reason I'm going so low with these is because I'm not trying to grip together in the center. Like I say, I want the corners to engage and work, and as I'm taking these patterns down and back up again, it's almost like doing push-ups for your face. If you just go down and let it go, you're not getting the benefit of bringing that back up and controlling everything. And I'm definitely not trying to push too high. Even after all these years of practicing lip buzzing, unless I really support hard with my air, I really can't buzz any higher than about a third space C in the staff. I can almost get that to go up there, but that's when I really feel the grip in the center coming together, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. Step 2 of the warm-up, to bring this more into focus and get the rim of the mouthpiece involved now, is to mouthpiece buzz the same pattern, but I'm going to start on that third space C. Okay? Now, for mouthpiece buzzing, I'm always going to hold the mouthpiece between finger and thumb at the end of the shank with my weak hand. I'm right-handed, so the left hand is my weak hand. If you're left-handed, then you probably want to do this in your right hand. If you're ambidextrous, as some people tend to be when I ask them about this, then just decide whichever your weakest hand is. Either way, end of the shank between finger and thumb, and just make sure to not block the end of the shank at all with your finger. Okay, we want to keep that open. I'm just going to work this down through about 5 or 6 notes. So the last start note I do will be an F at the bottom of the treble staff. So that's the mouthpiece buzzing component. There's a lot less of this because personally I've developed my lip buzz a lot more, so I can do that for longer and get more work in there. If you're new to lip buzzing, you're going to do that less and do smaller intervals in your patterns when you are buzzing, so there'll be more to do on the mouthpiece. It'll do part of the same job without overstressing your system. But we'll come to that in the next video. Okay, third step of this part of the warm-up is to now play the same pattern, and whatever my pattern is, it happens to be this major triad with the flat 9, I'm going to bend. I'm going to note bend on the half step, on the semitone. Okay? That's going to go something like this. So you see that I did a note bend from the low D flat to the low C. Okay, so the last pattern started on F at the bottom of the staff, so I play with the valves down to low F sharp and then bend that last half step to get under the regular range of the trumpet just into that top pedal F. Now at this point, if I'm pressed for time, then I'll probably just leave it right here. I know at this point that everything is basically going to be functioning. I've got my chops focused and I've started to engage my air. So this is the minimum that I'm going to try and do. Okay? Since I've got a little time right now, I am going to do an extended bending series in the low register, which if you've seen any of the previous videos, you may be familiar with this one. So I'm going to do that real quick. This is the extended bends and reverse bends series that you've probably seen before. I'm going to bend a half step, I'm going to reverse bend a half step. Reverse bends, if you're not familiar with those, it's kind of a bad name for them. I guess they're better called statics or something like that. That's when you play a note and then you valve the note a half step above but maintain the same pitch. Hope that makes sense. You'll see what it is. Anyway, I'm going to do these all starting on low C, but I'm going to increase the depth of the bend each time. So I'm going to do one half step of semitone, bend and reverse bend, 2, 3, and so on. It goes like this. As you can see, what I'm doing each time is when I get to the deepest part of the bend, I'm just hanging out there for a moment. So that's whether I'm bending down to a position or if I'm remaining static and valving further away. Okay? Okay, so there's the bends and the reverse bends. The purpose of these is really just to focus my airstream, really get everything engaged so I'm in control of what the airspeed is for the notes that I'm playing. And just doing that much is enough to lock it in pretty well for the rest of the horn. Okay? Okay, so that's the basic warm-up done, and the only thing that remains is to now address some basic fundamentals and really figure out what I need to direct my time to really get set up to play whatever it is I've got to play today. So it's a good idea to do a little test on some tonguing, on some flexibility, on something like double and triple tonguing, on scale patterns to see if the fingers are working. So there's any number of ways that you can do this, and really for me I try to make sure that it's a little bit different every day to keep different things fresh, and also to keep my chops from getting locked into really a certain thing that takes a long time. Right now I could probably just play whatever I need to play, and in fact the first thing I'll do is just play up and down the horn and see how range is. Okay, as long as I feel pretty good over about 3 octaves, then I know that everything else is going to be there. So I would just do something like this, simple chromatic scale, something. Okay, so that feels pretty good and pretty easy. So I know that the range thing isn't necessarily going to be a problem today. I'm still going to do a couple of things and dial in a couple certain notes if I know that I need them. But today's a practice day in quarantine, so unless one of my students is asking in a lesson later or something like that, I'm probably not going to need to play double high Cs today. I'll touch on them just to make sure they're still there. So then equally, I want to make sure the tongue's working, so I'll just test out some tonguing. Okay, that's working pretty good, although it could probably use some help, so that's something I'll probably address. Let's see where the flexibility's at. Again, flexibility is not too bad, but it'll probably take a little dialing in. The fingers felt pretty good when I was doing the chromatic scale before, but clock study, something like that, just to test out. Okay, so the fingers aren't too bad. Again, there's nothing in particular that I'm going to direct my time towards now. All of these things will get covered throughout my daily practice. So I go through all kinds of different things. But I have at least touched on the basics and identified some potential problem areas. And that's what I would direct the next 10, 15, 20 minutes of my practice time towards, particularly when I've got time to do that. And that's where standard exercises or exercises I've made up myself or whatever come in handy. So, this has been kind of long form. This has been probably longer than we want it to be, honestly. As I said up top, this is not necessarily what I want you to try and replicate doing. If you're still hanging in at this point, I'm incredibly impressed, because it's probably very boring unless you're really into playing the trumpet. But we'll cover some of the basics of how these things work a little bit more, and some basic versions of these exercises in another video, probably tomorrow or the day after. So, once again, I'm going to be doing some of these most every day for a little while, and we'll see if anyone hangs in there for them. If you have questions, something you'd like me to address, then please leave a comment, something like that. If you are interested in these, make sure to tell your friends about these videos and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, as well as the exercise of the week and all that kind of other stuff as well. And if you're watching this on Instagram and you've hung in this long, well done again. Keep following the account. I'll be posting trumpet cam clips most every day, and also some practice tips and stuff like this as well. Anyway, I hope you're staying safe and well. Don't forget to practice safe social distance. Just stay in the house, stay home unless you have to go out for something. Don't forget to wash your hands when you come back. And yeah, go practice. See you next time.